So this is a clean conversation with myself, Caitlin, with Rachel, and with Sean.
Hello.
Hello.
And Rachel, we are working together to design a drama-free conversations around disability. And we were just, I know you were just saying a few minutes ago, just about how we first met and what it was like when I hadn't realized that you were blind. And then I did realize, and I was like, oh, okay. And I started to make accommodations. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was the first time that I kind of realized you didn't know, so I opened it up. And number one, you didn't get flustered. Number two, you didn't make a big deal or apologize for it because
Yeah.
you didn't know, so why should you apologize for it? And three, you immediately changed gears and started to describe what you were doing. So you started to say spatially what you were writing I think you had a flip chart, if I don't mistake.
Yeah.
So you were writing things in it as you were explaining the models. So you started to say all the questions out loud as you wrote them, and 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 you made it clear for me that I could interrupt you and ask questions at any given time.
Mm-hmm. So if I didn't get flustered, why is that important to you?
Because well, you getting flustered kind of makes it feel that that's a little bit of my fault that you are feeling that way, right? It kind of, it's a little bit like if you're talking, for example, with a manager, if you would. And let's say I share with that manager something difficult that just happened in a meeting, or an accommodation that I requested and it was denied by somebody or something like that. But let's say I resolved it. So I'm just letting you know because you're my manager and you need to know about things that happen. So I tell you that. And then let's say my manager gets all sad about it and starts to apologize and almost cries about it and really apologize that I have to go through all this. So it's kind of like, okay, I had this moment of quote unquote sadness or anger or frustration or whatever it was. I resolved it. I'm letting you know. And now you are bringing it back to the dumps, right? Like something that I already passed and overcome. I'm just reporting on it. But we have to go emotionally there. And now I'm responsible to make you feel better about it,
Yeah.
right? Because this is stuff that happens to me every day. So when people get flustered and doesn't know what to do, that I feel a little guilty that that I'm provoking that, like making you feel flustered and on stage. And two, um, it also creates problems because often when people get flustered, they start to mumble a lot and they are overthinking it so much in their heads that then they're not able to accommodate. And then in the end, everything becomes more silly than what's needed, and then that makes me not want to address it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Caitlin, when you first realised Rachel was blind, what was going on for you?
Well, it's funny because we were on a drama-free training, weren't we, in Colorado?
Yes.
So I mean, what Rachel's talking about there is what happens when someone goes into drama about it.
Sure.
It's like if somebody starts to think, oh, I should have known better, or I wish this wasn't the case. When people are in the world of what should be instead of the world of what is, the reactions or the chemicals that go on then make them less able to think. So the
Correct.
first thing was that luckily I was in a drama-free training and I was in a good state. So when I noticed that Rachel was blind, what happens for me is I go backwards. So I go to the last few minutes, 20 minutes in the training, and I'm like, when I was saying and doing that, and that's not going to translate because I point, I'm very gestury.
Yep.
And so I'm like, so there's three things. One is this has been going on the whole time. And so the fact that I've only just found out about it doesn't mean it was still true an hour ago or 2 hours ago.
Sure.
So the first thing is, just because it's the first I've heard about it, like I have this thing. Second is, what's the least I have to do to accommodate this without Rachel having to, and what she said is exactly, Rachel, it's exactly what I'm trying to do, which is, what do I need to do now so that she doesn't have to accommodate my needing to accommodate, if that makes sense?
Yes, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like, you know, and then 3, how can this, there's a little tiny third thing, which is, how can this be even more delightful than it was before?
Yeah.
Like the fact that Rachel's blind make what I'm about to do even more delightful to me. And that isn't something, that's not just because, I mean, now that I know Rachel better, of course she's delightful, but
Thanks.
it's also, but it's like, if I don't feel like that, I can't think fast enough. I need that plump, oh, brilliant. Otherwise, my brain doesn't think.
Right.
Yes.
Almost, instead of you going to apology, you go, ooh, brilliant.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
What do I
Yeah.
do now?
Yeah, brilliant. What do I do now? And how can this be even better than it would have been if Rachel wasn't blind?
Mhm. And obviously blindness, one form of disability, one form of difference. Was there anything specifically about working with Rachel and blind that you might have done differently compared to, say, I don't know, dyslexia, ADHD, autism?
No, I don't think so.
No. So this is part of your congruent process. You'd have done the same with anything else, any other disability?
I think there were a couple of things immediately, Rachel, where I was like, oh, when I do this, there is no way, like I could, it's like my mind pops into the least I know, because obviously I didn't know Rachel.
Mhm.
It's the first time I met her. And there were there must have been, there were a lot of people there, like 50 people.
50, yeah, at least.
Yeah.
The very
in
least.
the room.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so the other thing is, you can't overcompensate as well, because you don't know who
You've got
else is
50
there.
other different people.
Because it's the
Yeah.
same as, you know, when if somebody says, oh, you're going too slow for me, you're like, oh, that's great. And is that too fast for some other people? Or yeah, so it was like, I knew that there were some things that absolutely could not be working for Rachel because I was pointing to stuff and not saying what they were.
Mhm.
So there was like 2 or 3 things I could do quickly. And then it's like, and then anything else, I just needed to tell Rachel that I was absolutely up for her correcting me or telling me. And like we've since discussed, haven't we, Rachel, that it's not that Rachel's blind, but she's ADHD, so am I. Like we're you know, there's other
And and I think we're the fast processors.
we're the fast
because,
processors. So
yes.
there's loads of stuff that I was doing that was perfect for her. That there's
Yeah.
probably loads of other people in the group wish
Yeah.
that we would both, and also Rachel's quite talkative and talks quickly like I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So we were, yeah, we probably talked too fast for loads of people in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you didn't get annoyed if I interrupted. Like, you know, if I had any questions or anything, like I could say, how about this? And Caitlin would just like shut back, you know, and we would move on without any problems, which I think probably could have annoyed some people, but it also gave me the answer so fast. You know, she didn't say, oh, Rachel, hold on, let me finish this and then I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
there's little tiny things like that I know that then, but I mean, Rachel's really, sorry, I noticed that you're also very sensitive. You're sensitive to the direction of the conversation. So one
Yeah.
of the fun things I did is that if I was telling a story, I often use slightly different voices, but I started to use the stage quite spatially.
Yeah.
So if I was talking about this kind of thing, I went to this
That
room.
point, yeah.
And actually, do you know what, Rachel? I was just telling you about separating things into undesired outcomes, problems, resources, and desired outcomes. And I think that when I started using the stage really specifically to help separate the story spatially for you, that was part of what I now do when I'm out training those things, is I
You
really
do that.
use the space really meaningfully.
And the first time you did it was because of learning from Rachel's diversity.
Well, I mean, I didn't learn. I was guessing.
Guessing.
But it works perfectly. Yes, because she would go to the left of the room and then she go to the right of the room, and sometimes she stop in the middle.
A definite point when I remember you talking to me about this being a thing now.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
a thing. It's a thing I do everywhere now.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Yeah.
Not in case somebody's blind, but just because
Well,
actually it helps.
and it's a lovely example, isn't it, of what's good for one person's diversity is generally, you know, good for lots of people who don't have that diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rachel, can I just have one other thing? So
Sure.
I immediately changed, and then I started to say what I was writing and do it spatially. What do some people get wrong when they meet someone who's blind? What do people do that doesn't work for you?
Oh boy. For one thing, they love to sit me somewhere and leave me there. And I'm a pacer and I can't sit for too long. Like, so,
I love that.
yeah, so people love to reserve a seat for me and they want me to be there all the time, which is great in a way for, for the part of, well, even on your workshop, right? We were moving around in groups and I kind of just stay sitting because I had like a roller and a computer. So people were coming to me, which was great, but at least we were moving around. So I don't mind being in the same place, but I don't like when people just, say, oh, this person will stay with you and they stay with you for the whole time. It's like, that's not the whole point of breakout groups, right? It's about learning. So a lot of the accommodations that people immediately do is they try to grab whatever they think is the easiest and they kind of lock me into that and try to not make an equitable experience. So that I would say it's like the biggest well-intended but mistake.
Yeah, so you and I thinking about like little things like the clean setup. So now if I was going to do a training with you now, especially if it was one in person, I'd be saying to you, okay, this is my current like very rough plan. And then I'd be saying, oh, hang on a minute, the dog's going to bark. Will you get, that's my
Should I just have to wait a while?
no, just go into the snug. So I might say to you, right, here's my rough plan, and you'd like the training to be like what? Thank you. You'd like the training to be like what? You'd like to be like what? And how can I support you? Because if you're a pacer, maybe you didn't need to have the laptop and the roller there. Do you know, like maybe there's other ways that we could have organized so that a little setup to give you the time to think about how you'd really like it and me to think about how you'd really like it would make a big difference.
Absolutely. Yes. A big difference. And I think what I'm noticing after having your training is that often I don't think about those things and I try to accommodate a lot others because I feel that they're accommodating too much for me. And I think that was a story that I used to tell myself. But then after I met you, I realized that that's not true because for you, it became even more brilliant or more challenging and more fun. And I'm wondering how many times I accommodate feeling that I am, quote unquote, too much because I've been told this over the years or too demanding. And I don't believe that that's necessarily true. And also, I think that having a clean setup would be a great way to do that. And in fact, not my, not my direct manager, but my current VP of my new group, that was the first thing she asked me to think of the things that I need so that we can talk about it.
Yeah. So let's watch this space for whatever it is that we come up together, some sort of clean intervention, training, provocation for those with disabilities, those working with or living with people with disabilities. Like how do we look at what are our rights, what are our requirements, and what are our responsibilities to one another? Lovely. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Oh, this is, I'm gonna stop recording.